Farewell to old England forever. Farewell to my uncles as well. Farewell.
In the early to mid-1800s, settlers to this area arrived by sailing and steamships from Sydney. They took up land grants, some many acres in size. If you were fortunate enough to own a horse, then life was a little easier, as they could be used for clearing the land, cultivating crops, and transporting goods. Delivery carts like this one were used extensively by milk vendors and bakeries. And it is unknown why the horse in this picture has his front legs covered. Horse-drawn buggies and sulkies were a popular means of transport on the dirt tracks in the early days.
Probably part of our life was our brother Gregory got a horse because we'd have to walk everywhere. And so he and I would go to and from Empire Bay whenever we wanted to, bareback, no bridle, no saddle, no nothing. He'd just have a hunk of rope around his snout and away we'd go.
Those without a horse were confined to either river travel in rowboats or small motorised boats in the latter days. The alternative was to walk or ride a push bike. There were no roads as we know them today, only bush tracks, and the earliest of these in Empire Bay was from Merritt's Wharf past the school to Bensville and Kincumber. With the coming of the steam train to Woy Woy and Gosford in 1888, the area began to open up. City people, attracted to the many waterways for swimming, fishing, invaded the area in large numbers during the holiday season. Guest houses were built and ferry services were established to many locations that were only accessible by water. In the latter years, farmers in Kincumber formed a cooperative and acquired their own ferry to transport produce to markets. This ferry serviced Empire Bay, and once a week, passengers could go to Gosford markets and back. Some people sought to build permanent residence or convert holiday homes to full-time living, and then commute to and from work each day by ferry and train. This bolstered the ferry business, with more launches competing for the commuter customers. The growth in population did not go unnoticed by land developers, who divided up large parcels of land into residential building blocks. The most notable of these in Empire Bay were Arthur Rickard & Co., who advertised the Sorrento estate, Myler and Company, auctioneers and estate agents of Five Dock, who cut up land in Gordon and Sorrento roads. Ray McClory explains another situation.
Well, when I went to school, there wasn't any houses in here at all in this estate. This was called Seaview Estate, and it was cut up during the First World War, or shortly after. And all they had to do then was, own a bit of land and get a thing and draw roads on it. It didn't have to do anything to them. It was just completely bush.
Yeah.
And a number of blocks. And for all our young life, there was people coming up looking for their block of land. Because at one stage, some clothing shop in Sydney was giving away a block of land. If you bought a suit of clothes, you got given a block of land at Seaview Estate with it.
Yeah.
It's an enticement, but there was never anything development on it.
The sale of land was later accelerated by the building of the Rip Bridge to Daly's Point.
The site selected is known as the Rip, where the waters narrow to a channel about 200 metres wide. The narrowness of the channel creates high flows of water with the movement of the tides. Because of these rapid currents, the construction of the bridge foundations in the form of piers in the channel was undesirable. It was decided to construct an arch-shaped bridge of very high-strength pre-stressed concrete, cantilevered across the channel to avoid the need for permanent piers or temporary supports in the strong tidal flow.
We'll just take a quick look at the development of the houses from one to another over the years as time passed by. Now they have electricity there. The modern day home. Now let's take a look at how the shops were. We started off with this. And here we have the modern day Empire Bay. Ferry development was similar, from the old ferries to a slightly newer version into the one, well, even this ferry is used today currently, but that progressed now into the all metal aluminium type style of ferry, which obviously can carry more people than the older ones. Settlers to Empire Bay, then known as Cockle Creek because of the vast number of cockle shells deposited there, probably over hundreds if not thousands of years, saw an opportunity to harvest this resource. These shell deposits, some over a metre deep, were dug up and sent by barge to Sydney, where they were crushed and burnt to make lime mortar powder for use in the building industry. Most settlers, however, had to survive either by fishing or farming from the land. People made the most of the environment around them because survival and the building of a house was their main objective in those days. Clearing of land and crop farming, dairy produce, poultry, fishing became the basis of the early industry. This led to the development of shipbuilding, as excess produce had to be moved to markets and water was the main means of transport. Ray McLaurie explains how the land was worked.
Yeah, they grew crops, but you can't grow crops, vegetable crops, all the year. You know, you got the winter and wet times, and the other times they did other jobs, like cutting timber, mainly for case logs. They used to send all vegetables were sent to Sydney markets in wooden cases in those days, so it didn't have to be real good quality timber. The best timber went into building houses. Well, my uncle was a bit involved in the boat building, my dad wasn't, but he used to work on building wharves. Built all the wharves, or helped with the Davises around Scotland Island. I used to go over on the ferry from here to Scotland Island and come back on Saturday and go back on Monday morning and built a lot of wharves over there. They cut timber for some of the piles for the original, well not the original, but the Sydney Quay. Some of the big piles come from here, from this area. They used to dig wells. They dug all the wells around this district, water wells. They'd cut the timber first. They made it a wooden thing. Yeah, it gradually dropped down. It was cut out of red mahogany that used to last in the water best. Because there was quite a few poultry farms here. This is straight after the war. And they all had to have water for their chooks. And there was a big poultry farm where the Empire Bay School is now, at the back of it.
Oh, at the back of it.
Yeah, like Empire Bay School is much bigger grounds now than it was when I went to school there. It was Brown's poultry farm, went round.
The Newbert's Island one, up near Woy Woy end of the island, there used to be a dairy. Andy Ocken was the bloke that, because he didn't like us chasing the crabs. And he used to try and chase us off, but he couldn't do nothing about it. But that island was 3 parts swamp. Mangoes, full of mangoes. It had a dairy farm, like milking cows, you know. And they used to swim the cows across from Blackall. Blackall Wharf is not there now, I don't think. But they used to swim across. Just a few, yeah. Sharks got one, I think.
Gordon Beattie had a large shipbuilding yard which was near where the bridge to St Hubert's Island is today. He constructed a number of large launches of different types, including ferries, barges and sloops. The first trip that the Erina II did after being fitted out was on the 28th of December 1934. It was a fun day for all the locals when a large boat was to be launched, as people came from all around to watch the event. There were times when not everything went as planned. Oyster farming first commenced when Bill Myler took a keen interest in the species, and his son, also known as Bill, made it his lifetime occupation on the once holiday property at the end of Sorrento Road. Alan Ferguson, a current day oyster farmer, explains how the oysters breed.
When the things are right.
You know when they're going to do it.
Yeah, they do it, and they throw out the eggs, and the males throw out the spawn, and all mix in the water, and bingo, you got it. A little oyster then has 7 days of running around, and he has to attach himself to something in those 7 days. And there's billions of them out of each spawning effort.
Oh yeah.
And so about 1% will actually attach itself to something, and about 1% of those will become an oyster. So after the week, they then, like they're feeding too as they go, they're then too heavy and they fall to the bottom. And then Mother Nature, just about everything that goes to the bottom is dead.
Yeah. Oh. Fish should have a great time, wouldn't they?
Oh yeah. Well, that's what attracts them really. That's why they're hanging around the oysters.
So when they're mixing in the water, have you got some timber or something for them attached to?
We do have plastic. I can show you. I've got some down there. We're using plastic now, like Venetian blind. all strapped up in trays.
Mm.
And you put them out, and you're hoping to catch in those, and you put them about that far apart, so that the fish can't get in there and gobble them off, you know. Let me show you how to do it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's an interesting
They're
exercise.
plastic ones, those I used to catch on timber years ago. So they're all set, ready to go, and you set them and the water runs through after spawning, and the oysters will catch on the inside of these. And the reason they're close together, of course, is so that the fish can't get in there and chomp at them. Then you bust them apart and anyway, you just lock that and they'll all fall off. And, that's the easiest method we've got so far of catching them. The other way is in the laboratory, but which is good. Sometimes you get a better oyster out of it.
Yeah, well, there's certainly quite a few of them there.
There's a lot more out the water. Which are the ones we didn't get out.
And is it once a year they spawn, or
When they feel like it.
how do you know when they feel like it?
It seems to happen when the temperature comes up. There's an extra supply of tucker, and the salinity goes down.
Yeah.
That seems to be the mix that does it. But that's only as close as we can get. It's Mother Nature does things we just don't understand. It comes up and through the UV light, out and through the collector and round and round.
What does the UV light do? Cleanse it, or?
Oh, it kills anything that's in the water. So they come down. The oysters think they're going to get a drink, get a feed.
Yeah.
They don't, but they open and still looking for it. And the major thing that they do is they empty out refrigeration unit up there, and that's a cool room.
A lot of the pictures that you will see have been taken from the centenary book of the school. It commences with the efforts made by local citizens petitioning the Ministry of Education in 1881 to have a school built at Empire Bay. It exposes the many problems encountered in having a suitable building in the days when there was no electricity, roads were only tracks, and the main means of transport was by water or horseback, or walk. In the beginning, all grades from Class 1 to 6 were in the same room with one teacher handling the entire group. Students came from Davistown, Daly's Point and Bensville, many walking miles or riding bicycles to attend school. The children from Davistown had to be driven across Cockle Creek in a small motorised launch and back again after school, for which the boat driver got 3d per child per day from the government. These latter pictures show how the school looked in the mid-1900s, with water tank and flower gardens. Ray McClory, Ruth Pacey, John Watts and Patty Foster will tell their stories of what they recall from those early days in the mid-1900s.
The school during the Second World War. I started the day war broke out and finished not long after the war finished. In 45, started in 39. Riding a bike 2 miles on the dirt and unsoiled road to school. There were about 10 pupils from Bensville area. There's only a couple other families. And there was, the rest of them came from Empire Bay and Davistown. Used to come across in the ferry. Not a ferry, or a little motorboat there. And when Brisbania School opened in 1940, the enrolment fell from about 60 to 30. There's about half of them come across from over there. Yeah, well, the main thing I remember during the going to primary school was raising money for the war effort. You know, they had these fundraisers on for the kids to, you know, and everything. You usually got selling little mementos and filling in things of the islands to where they repel the Japanese and that, and every penny was worth so much. And I used to work diligently at, just go where other kids didn't go, up to houses to, sometimes that's all you get was 1 penny off the people. But often, mainly threepence, but some, I can remember, only give 1 penny. And digging an air raid shelter in the gully at the back of the school. And the great thing about the teacher at the time, Leo Jones, was that he taught every pupil that went through his school how to swim in Empire Bay. That was a big thing for him, that they had to be able to learn to swim.
Well, that was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Well, actually, the whole school went swimming Friday afternoon, you know, in the summer. And when school broke up in Christmas holidays, every child went home with a bunch of Christmas bush from the tree. There used to be a huge tree grow alongside the schoolhouse. And one of the bigger kids was sent up the tree with the secateurs to, you know, and it was all done orderly. Every went home with a bunch of Christmas bush. The war ended in the Pacific because we were given half a day holiday. I remember coming home at lunchtime. There wasn't any electricity. I don't know how he found out. Oh, that's right. He didn't know till he went in to have lunch, the teacher. The teacher lived in the house alongside.
Only the ones there.
One classroom.
Yes, and Leo Jones was the teacher, and I used to get the cane nearly every second day for talking in the lower classes, because he had a difficult job. You know, he had to set work for 2 or 3 of the classes, then go to the higher. This is when I was in 2nd and 3rd class, and go to the other classes and teach them. And of course, he didn't like you talking.
So corporal punishment in those days, was it a stick across the hand?
Yes, a cane. Yes. It did sting, but it was, we never held it against him. We knew we were in the wrong.
We had a track over the hill between the bush, up the bush. The road used to go around the Daly's Point, and that was as far as the road went, but it was only a dirt track. And instead of going way around, we had a track through the bush.
And down to the school.
And there was a girl, she was about 8, but she had polio. Just up here, a fibro house on a corner.
She was crippled, was she?
She was crippled, but our track used to come out there, and we used to walk down to the school with her.
You don't remember her name?
Nah, I can't think, but everyone felt sorry for her, poor her. Well, she was our age, and she had polio, but she was all right. But they had everybody in that time of the year, the world, they had a hard time, you know. They were sort of struggling. There weren't no women pension or anything, I don't think. You know.
Okay, Mum and Dad came to Empire Bay. It was around 1940, I think. He was transferred to become principal of the Empire Public School. When they came here, they had 2 daughters and 2 sons. They ended up going on to have 9 children, which I'm smack bang in the middle. PS3A Sports in at Gosford, where we'd all congregate up in Burns Park, Gosford, and then we'd have the big march past down Mann Street. We'd all march down there thinking we were great. And we'd have our banners and things all going, and then we'd march down to Graham Park. That's where we'd start competing against all the other schools in the races and the sack races and the hoopla and the ball games, you know, the overhead and the tunnel ball. Yeah, we'd go down to the pool, down to the baths it was, every Friday afternoon with Dad once again, and he taught everyone to swim. I nearly had a mishap, and I don't think he realises now either, but I nearly drowned too. But I just managed to get myself back onto the shallow part. But no, everything went well there. Yeah, but with Dad's school though, I'll go back to the school, with Dad's school, everybody, because that was the only public school around for so far, they had them from Davistown, Bensville, Kincumber, Daly's Point, they all came to the one school. So yeah, Dad got to know a lot of the men and what have you, and of course, you know, he ended up being drinking partners with a lot of them in later years.
Did you know there was air raid shelter at the school?
Yes, we used to quite often go and play in that air raid shelter because naturally living there, well, we'd go down into the hole and play there. Yes, we did. And I can remember one day that one of the kids come running to Dad saying, "Oh, sir, come quick. And he said, "What's the problem?" He said, "Kevin Mitchell's just been stabbed in the eye." And of course Dad went running like blazes down there. Anyhow, yes, he did. Dang Fang Wilson, as we used to call him, Darryl is his proper name, Dang Fang Wilson, had apparently thrown this spear and got him in the side of the eye, it was. Yeah, so he was a very lucky boy. Yes, oh no, that was horrible, that one. Dad also loved his Christmas bush. Everybody went home with a bunch of Christmas bush at the end of the year. And then what was left down round the gully and everything, the Jones clan would get the old pram and we'd take orders prior to Christmas and we'd go and sell all this Christmas bush per bunch around the bay. Yeah, we were well known for selling the Christmas.
As can be seen from this picture, Empire Bay is a small village nestled on the banks of Cockle Creek, so called by the large amounts of cockle shells found in the early 1800s. The village is sheltered from the southerly winds by a tree-covered hill to the south. Water was the main form of access by ferries and small boats. This, of course, changed with the building of roads and later the Rip Bridge. Fishing, boating and swimming were some of the main activities, except in the war years when all boats were confiscated to prevent them falling into the hands of the Japanese should they invade the area. Ray McClory explains.
You remember confiscation of all the boats in the war year?
Yeah, I was involved in that.
How were you involved?
So my uncle had the contract to pick them all up. Arthur McGlory, he had the contract to pick up all the
Where
boats
did you put them?
on the Gosford Racecourse. And I used to go, just to fill in the day, I'd go with him.
Oh.
Yeah.
You don't have any pictures, I suppose.
No, that's what I told you last night. We never had a camera in my house, and I still haven't got a camera.
A number of sharks were caught, mainly by tying a baited line to an empty kerosene tin. The fish could not pull this underwater because of the buoyancy of the tin. Fish was frequently on the menu of most householders as well. Patty Foster explains.
Do you ever go fishing or?
Well, that was our main source
Tennis or
of
something?
meat. You know, we had the men all used to go down to the lagoon down opposite the school, and they'd do the shooting. They'd shoot the mullet and the whatever else there was, but us little kids, we used to have to traipse through all the mud to get the fish. You know, it was a great joke. You know, the men all sat up in the trees high and dry, and we'd be sploshing around in the mud. Yeah, that was the meat.
The waterfront attracted holiday makers as well as the locals. You can see here some boys with a canoe made from a sheet of roofing iron, as that was the only convenient material available at those times. Empire Bay bars were very popular in the hot weather. The marina, boat shed as it was called in those days, where there were boats for hire, boats could be repaired. In other words, it was a small business operating directly on the waterfront.
We used to celebrate Empire Day down at the waterfront at Empire Bay. We'd have races and things, and I can always remember we'd have a threepence or a sixpence as the prize money as the prizes went on. And then at the end of the evening, what we'd do, we'd have the biggest bonfire down there. It was fantastic. Down where the tennis courts are now, it was actually. Yes. And then, of course, the next day or whenever we had our halfpenny or our penny, we'd go to the shops and we'd buy our broken biscuits. That was quite good. It was a treat for us, coming from a family of 9, I can assure you.
And we used to have cracker night there, and under the supervision of a lot of parents, we'd let the firecrackers off and the Catherine wheels and the skyrockets. And the last year that we did this, we'd had a Derek Overton had saved an old 16 or 18 foot clinker boat that was pretty rotten, but he saved it in his garage for me for 12 months. And we put that on top of the bonfire. We put it one side and then we got a 4-wheel drive and hauled it up to the top of the fire. It was a huge fire, and it burnt for about 3 days. But we used to get hundreds of kids around there letting the crackers off on Empire Day, which was our bunga night or cracker night. And that was the last time. That was 1986 was the last time we did it.
There were many other events held on the waterfront as well. These artificial boat races, as you can see, guys dressed up in a frame and running with them. There were also concerts, and cricket was a great game there as well. The trophies presented to the winners, and there was a Mardi Gras held there back in '88. Apart from the cottages scattered around the area, it was the first local general store owned by Ollie and Harry Setri that attracted attention. It was the focal point for the locals, where goods, newspapers and fresh bread were available. Harry Setri, the boat shed owner, motored across to Davistown each day to obtain fresh bread, which was made on wood-fired ovens at Alexander's Bakery. Another general shop was built by Charles Swinburne on the corner of Sorrento Road, in which Mr. W.J. Huggart became the first postmaster of Empire Bay on the 15th of September 1909. This shop had a number of owners over the years and was eventually demolished in 1974 to make way for the current shops, which consists of a number of buildings in Sorrento and Kendall Roads. The first Anglican church to be built was in Rosella Road in 1913. One of the organists being Jessie Manners. She was the auntie to Jeanette Thorrington of Sorrento Road. The church conducted services until 2010, when it ceased operations and was sold to become a house that you can see today. Notice the gardens all around the building. The Palmer family were farmers from way back, with the women of the family enjoying exceptionally long lives for that period. Eliza Palmer, the mother, passed away in 1935, aged 95. Alice Palmer passed away in 1966, aged 98, while Lucy Palmer passed away in 1971, aged 102. W.J. Myler, real estate agents from Five Dock, acquired some acres of land at the end of what is now Sorrento Road and built a holiday cottage facing Davistown. Note the original building has only 3 sides to it. It was filled in later. He also built a boat shed out on the water, so that his boat was not caught in the receding tide and left in the mud. Bill subdivided some of the land, donating 1 block for the construction of the Progress Hall where it stands today. His son Bill became interested in oyster farming and did so for many years. Today he is survived by his granddaughter Gloria Conley, lives in a new cottage on the same property.
Up the road from where we lived, near Nick, were the Empire Bay tennis courts, and I was secretary of the association that ran the tennis courts for 12 months, and during that time they'd asked me would I help them do a few projects they had on their books, and one was to put coin-operated barbecues there so that the people playing tennis could have a picnic and have a bit of fun. So we ended up with putting 2 huts with really hardwood flitch tables and slabs with barbecues at the end, which were coin operated, and we had the electricity put onto them underground. They were just old days, and while I was involved we got the quotes to convert the tennis courts to all-weather courts with sort of a nylon fabric with tons of sand on the top of that, so that now that after rain you can start playing tennis again pretty much straight away. And then there was a 3rd court put in, and a big sand pit with a little toy for the kids to sit on and pick up scoops of sand and occupy them while Mum and Dad were playing tennis. They were good old days, a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun.
This is the memorial at the centre of Empire Bay as it was from 1947 to 2004. The memorial was unveiled in November 1947 by Mrs. A. Davis and consecrated by the Reverend Cyril Francis. The honour rolls list those who served in the 2 World Wars. Several local family names appear more than once. In 2003, the Progress Association decided to renovate the memorial. Work began in 2004 with funding from the federal government, Gosford City Council, the local RSL and the community fundraising. The new plinth on the memorial was crafted by James Cook, a local stonemason. Sandstone blocks for the plaques were installed with paving and edging for the garden. The Gosford City Council provided the workforce at no cost. The garden was planted by the community. The flag is raised every day. Jeff Melville, a well-known local identity, coordinates and compares the Anzac Day service. Wreaths are laid during the annual Anzac Day service by community members, ex-service personnel and visitors. Guard of Honour for the Anzac Day service is provided by local school children, Sea Scouts and Rural Fire Service. annual Anzac Day service is a major community event, attended by hundreds, come rain or shine.
Around lunchtime on Friday the 10th of August 1984, disaster struck Empire Bay. No one saw it coming, and the residents had no idea of the destruction it would bring. A small whirlwind quickly grew in intensity. A resident noticed leaves and dust swirling around in the air on what was otherwise a calm, sunny day. As suddenly as it started, it stopped, but the damage was done. 30 seconds of terror, the Advocate headline stated. Its full fury uprooting trees and destroying property. The whirlwind whipped along Sorrento Road where it began, in the vicinity of the Progress Wall, and continued on its destructive path along the waterfront of Shelley Beach Road. Some houses suffered extreme damage, while others were sheltered from the wrath of the wind. It was very fortunate that no one was killed, as objects were flung through the air, finishing their journey, dumped on other houses and trees. Debris was everywhere. The pictures from this day showed the extent of the destruction: roof material removed, awnings destroyed. A caravan was completely upturned, while aluminium boats were tossed around like paper in the wind. One was impaled upon a fence. Iron crashing everywhere was another headline of the day. Destruction was so great that emergency services were called in to help residents secure what was left of their homes. They worked for more than 10 hours to secure the 15 houses which were minus roofs. You will notice that the large arched brick double-storey house owned by Stockmans completely lost its roof and substructure while the occupier was inside. Ruth Pacey, a long-time resident of Sorrento Road, Empire Bay, recalls what happened on that fateful day in 1984.
I was here when the cyclone came through. Actually, our granddaughter was asleep in the bedroom. She was just on 1 year old. So that's how I remember the date. What happened? It was about lunchtime. It was a bit cloudy. I had a couple of jade snappies on the line, so I went out to the line to bring them in. Then I came back and I went to the toilet. While I was in the toilet, there was this terrible noise, and I just thought, my heavens, what's that? And I came back through our bathroom seat, came through and looked out the window, and there was devastation. There was a caravan and there was a boat on the fence, and our garage had gone. There was beep, 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 and it was our little car with I'd set the alarm in it, and the alarm was going, but all the windows lost all the windows anyway. Yeah. Anyway, it was really, I felt pretty shocked actually, and I thought, I wonder what the next door people, what they're doing before the new house was built. There were visitors up there, and I could see that part of the roof had gone, and I knew they were an older couple and he was recovering from a heart attack. So I went in and walked up the steps very gingerly and poked my head in the door, and just about all the roof had gone, but there was no one home, thank goodness. They'd gone over to Woy Woy to have lunch, so thank goodness, because it might have given him another one. Happened then. And I think he thought, well, when he got the message, he thought I didn't know what was happening. He thought I might have. And when he finally came home, he couldn't believe it, could you?
Couldn't believe the damage.
Yes.
The thing it happened so quickly,
Yes.
I'd never seen a boat impaled on a fibro fence before.
Yes.
And when I went up to look at the laser, all the windows had blown out, with pieces of glass were actually embedded in the paperbark sort of still growing.
You too. But we were very lucky, you know, because it came across here and caught next door and caught the Pendricks, who were 2 doors down, and they were away in Queensland. The proprietor said to them, he said, Empire Bay's been blown away. and Norm said, are you sure? And he said, yes. He said they had a big storm or wind and everything went. So, of course, they didn't know what to believe, so they rang us and, of course, then came home.
In approximately 1918, land developer William John Myler donated land on the corner of Gordon Road and Sorrento Road to the people of Empire Bay for the establishment of a community hall. A short time later, in conjunction with Skipper Merritt and with other financial and voluntary assistance, the hall was built and completed in 1922. It was used by the local youth club with activities organised by Jack Ryan. There was a kitchen in the hall, and it was very popular for many years, with old-time dancing every second week. Hoyan cards were played on alternate weekends. Patty Foster recalls activities that took place in the mid-1900s.
Bay down at the Progress Hall, yes. Dad used to be the MC, but then Dad was chief cook and bottle wash of everything that happened in the Bay. You know, he'd run the polling booths, he'd run the Progress, he'd run the Bing or the houses in those days, he'd run, well, anything that was happening. Dad would be the MC of it all. Yeah, we had some good times at Empire Bay with everybody would take a plate as supper, and yeah, and I can always remember Dad playing these games. You know, there was the Nowlans, Pudgy and Pop Nowlan and Bubby and the Jeromes and all those, you know, people, the Blackhawks and all those, and, you know, he'd play these games. Well, they were a ton of fun. They really were. They were real good fun. Yeah.
What sort of games?
Well, they had eggshells. What I can remember, it was they had eggshells and they'd blindfold you, and you'd have to try and avoid walking on these eggs. Naturally, they weren't full eggs, they were the eggshells, and they made a horrible noise, you know, and them being blindfolded, they'd think, oh dear, what a mess, but of course it wasn't. And then another one I can remember, there was a suitcase in the middle of the hall. The men, I think the men would have to get dressed up as ladies. They'd have to go, yeah, the men would get dressed up as a woman, the ladies would get dressed up as a man, and they'd go outside the hall, turn around, come back in, and then they have to get dressed out of this suitcase. That was another good one. And then there was another one, I'm not real sure how it worked, but it was something to do with a log, a long pole, and they'd lift them up on this pole somehow. It was all blindfolded and what have you.
On the 23rd of February 1999, application was made to Council for proposed extensions to the old hall, and on the 8th of June 2001, a construction certificate was issued, including details of the extension, access ramp, and facilities for the handicapped. With incredible support from locals in the form of donation of materials and labour, the new hall was officially opened on the October long weekend in 2004 at the annual art show. This was only possible with grants through Gosford Council and the New South Wales Government. We received $57,000 to help cover costs of providing the access ramp, furniture, a new floor, outdoor undercover area and the renovation of our kitchen. In 2009-2010, roof ventilation and insulation was installed, along with solar pump hot water system and a water tank.
facts about the movie we're about to see and the star and the director. Is that right?
More than that, yes. Yeah, we'll see if we can take everyone back. Is that a little bit round? Is that good? That's good. Okay.
So just relax. Thanks, Bob.
That's just a little bit of my history. I was a critic for the Manly Daily and its group of papers, the 17th.
Dashing through the bush in a rusty Holden ute, kicking up the dust, Esky in the boot, Kelpie by my side, singing Christmas songs. It's summertime and I am in my singlet, shorts and thongs. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Christmas in Australia on a scorching summer's day. Hey! Jingle bells, Christmas time is beaut. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a rusty Holden ute. Engine's getting hot, dodge the kangaroos. Swaggy climbs aboard, he is welcome too. All the family is there, sitting by the pool. Christmas Day, the Aussie way, by the barbecue. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Christmas in Australia on a scorching summer's day. Hey! Jingle bells, Christmas time is beaut. Oh, what fun it is afternoon.
Empire Bay has always been good for catching a fish or two, so it's only natural that there would be a fishing club here as well. Council has upgraded an old concrete fish cleaning table to a new stainless steel one that you see here. This is adjacent to the main wharf and boat ramp, which slopes away into deep water. Since the 90s, the club has grown in numbers and meetings were held at committee member houses while functions took place at the local Progress Hall. This location at the main wharf was the focal point for socialising until the tavern was built, and this is now the main venue where weigh-ins take place at 3 p.m. on Sunday afternoon following the fishing weekend. The club has its own barbecue and makes use of it on these occasions. The fishing weekend commences with the first full weekend, that is, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, of each month. Current membership is approximately 60, but only a handful fish on a regular basis. The club supports other organisations such as the Vietnam Veterans and the local Rural Fire Service. What you're looking at now is some of the fish that have been weighed in by some very happy anglers. This game was first played on the private lawns of residents. As it grew in popularity, this monthly event was then moved to the Progress Hall, where it is played today after a light lunch.
Locked on my balls out there. No, it's locked, Katerina. Shirley's got to get the keys. It's locked down there. It's all right, I'll go that. Yellow ball.
No, I thought I was going to hit the white.
Yellow. Yellow again. That's better. Stop. Yeah, blue.
Where are the four winners?
Okay, here we are.
Okay. Bit more close to the legacy, Jim.
Here we are.
Okay, first of all, that's one for you.
Oh, yeah.
One for you. One for you. One for you. Oh, well done. Thank you. Well done. Congratulations. Congratulations to you. Well done.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Well done, Tim. All the best. The winners.
Yay!
Hey, we're in Hollywood tomorrow.
Yeah.
citizens of Budai, we Budai senior citizens wish you a Merry Christmas. We, the senior citizens of Budai, senior citizens of Empire Bay wish you a Merry Christmas. We, the Budai senior citizens of Empire Bay, wish you a Merry Christmas.
Did you get that one off?
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm Gloria. When I was young, I was petrified of Black Charlie. If he come in the general store, I'd run out. He didn't like being called Black Charlie because his quote was, "Don't call me Black Charlie, Red Charlie, Blue Charlie or any other Charlie, just plain Charlie." And when he died, people were going up to look for his money. And I remember going up with my mother to have a look, and he slept in a big hollow log with an old mattress, soft mattress in it, at the side of the hill. And I believe he come from Ceylon.
What do you know about Black Charlie? We'll go through this list.
Only that he lived here in the Bay, and he lived between Echuca and Myrtle Road. He had a little house there and used to grow veggies there, and then he moved out. I can't tell you why or how or anything, and moved up into Hillcrest Road there somewhere where he died.
Why is it that all the other girls are scared of him?
I don't know, I wasn't scared of him. I suppose because he was black, and he was black.
I thought there might be more to it.
No, I don't think so. I just think it was because he was black.
Old Black Charlie, he used to grow the loveliest of strawberries, but my brother Gregory and I were so petrified of him. We'd go, if I was walking to Empire Bay from the school, which was about a mile, and I knew that old Black Charlie was following me, I'd sit in the bush and wait to pass. I was just so scared of him.
But there was nothing wrong with him.
Nothing wrong with him, nothing at all. He was the loveliest man, but me being so young, I was just so scared of him, just so scared.
Why were the other girls scared of him then?
Oh, because he was black, I suppose, in a way.
But he didn't harm anyone, did he?
No, we all thought he was Aboriginal, but he wasn't. He came from one of the islands, apparently.
Mm.
So
okay.
Nobody knows what he did with his money.
Why? Did you try and find it?
No, a lot of people did after he died. But we used to go round and get the veggies off him.
So was he a market gardener sort of thing?
Well, yeah, sort of. We paid him for the vegetables, but I don't know whether he sold them to the family or we just gave him money for it. You know what I mean?
Mm. Charlie, is it? You must have the name.
Yeah, I can tell you where he lived.
What was famous about him? Why was his name pops up a few times. What was he famous for?
No, he was a Chinese grower, vegetable grower.
Nick, our bookie, he bookmaker, he rode a horse called Major, and the cops tried to catch him a few times, and when they used to have regattas, rowing regattas and carnivals, they came out to try and catch him, and he took off over the Kendall Road, and they couldn't get him.
Oh, Nick Lipscomb, he used to be the SP bookie. And of course in those days we were so young, we didn't know what an SP bookie was. Well, we were just goody-goodies, you know. And I can still remember Dad or Mum, or I know Mum's brother, anyone that was at home, and they'd say to us, here you go, will you take this down and give it to Nick Lipscomb? They'd roll this, whatever it was, piece of paper up and give it to us. We know now what it was. We didn't know then, though, that we were, yeah. And then every now and again you'd see the police going past and you'd think, oh, I don't know what's going on there, but you'd sort of hear everybody talking about the police were out and they either took Nick Lipscomb away or you know, we didn't know until latter years what it was all about, but we soon found out.
I remember the early days when we first came up, where Nick Lipscomb would be out there, he'd go fishing in his clinker boat, and he built a lot of the seawall along from the Shelley Beach Road wharf to the end. And when that started to come apart, you'd see that they filled the ballast in the concrete with beer bottles, so they'd use less concrete. But Nick was the early SP bookie for Empire Bay, and when he wasn't riding his horse, he was riding his push bike, and if the police came to look for him, he'd get the word and he'd jump off his bike and leave it there and run into the bush, and you wouldn't see him for a while. When the big storm came in '74, it came right up to the floorboards of Nick's house, because I remember him lifting the lino up, and the newspaper under the lino was wet, and the newspaper had been there for years and years. And Nick used to take his clinker boat over to the Kincumber Wharf, where there were the two ferries that operated, and one was the Growers Ferry, and they'd pick up the produce and take it to the train and onto the markets. But Nick used to go over there and buy fresh vegetables. And at the end of his days, when he could no longer use the boat and the boat was just about worn out, he cut it up into little pieces and burnt it a little bit at a time. And that was part of his memories. And he made a really, really good home brew, Nick. Very powerful, because I remember going down there to go to the wharf next door to his place once, and there were some very loud explosions, and I think quite a few bottles of his home brew went off. He was a very colourful character. Born over a fish shop in Hunter Street when Hunter Street was made of wooden blocks.
Oh yeah, I knew him well.
He got chased by the cops at one stage.
Oh yeah, no.
Jumped on his horse Major and took off into the swamp.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, he used to play tennis. We had a tennis court in our place, and he used to come to our place every Sunday afternoon. We had a tennis afternoon every week, and Nick Lipscomb, he was one of the players. Oh, yeah. He used to come up and play. Yeah, I knew him well. He was also a pastry cook, and I was a pastry cook by trade. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know Nick well. He lived right alongside Shelley Beach Wharf. There's one of the settlers there counterfeiting, making 2 shilling pieces, and eventually he wasn't caught, but the police did a raid on the place. They come up from Sydney and come up in boats from Woy Woy and surrounded the place, and he poisoned himself. He drank the stuff that he was using to kill himself before they got inside. We only lived down there. My father said you could hear this tip, tap, tap. He's only making it with your hand, sort of thing. But there's been a radio documentary on it. Back in the days, and they used to have a thing called Police File. That was one of the episodes on that, and they got it fairly right. I can't remember that. I was born.
And he came up here, and then the coins started to come up in Gosford, and the police knew that he was at Bennsville, and they come out to get him. And he he said to my grandfather before this, I won't ever go back to jail. And he said, the police, will you just give me a minute to go and get something? And he went in and took cyanide.
Ray says that they made a show for radio and TV from that.
Yeah, no, not TV. Radio. And he came on as Mr. Gardner. They called him Mr. Gardner. They didn't call him Mr. Settree. They called him Mr. Gardner. So he Settree, the Gardner, yeah.
Yeah, that was Police File or something like that.
Yeah, Police Files it was, yeah. It's a long while ago, I can just remember. And Mum and Dad said, oh, they're talking about Bob.
He was from the orphanage, one of the orphan boys. Yeah, he's in a lot of history.
He's from the orphanage?
Yeah, the orphanage used to come round with a truck and cut firewood all through this area here, you know.
How did he get killed?
Well, this tree was... They were cutting trees, and this one got caught up in another tree, like that.
Yeah.
And he cut that one, and I was taught this because I used to work with my dad in the bush. I was never as good a bushman as he was, but I never ever cut that one because that one's going to come quick. You know, you're halfway through, and because of the weight on it, and it come down on his head and killed him. And he was in charge of other boys. He was a man actually. He was 20-something. I'm not sure how old he was. It's in other history books. And that was just the end of this next road, Huntley Road, which is Huntley Road now. And the strange thing about it, one of the boys come over to borrow a bike off our house where the horses are there. The gate, because there was no one had phones. We never had a phone all the time I lived there. Yeah, the end of the there was a post office. He went down to ring the Pope, ring the priest. Yeah. And my father come from the farm somewhere, he heard the commotion going on, and he went down to ring the ambulance. They weren't ringing the ambulance, they just wanted the priest. And anyhow, they all come eventually. But afterwards, and there was a lot of blood because he hit him on the head, and so I never saw that. But my father went over there and helped them clean up and things. For an area of, I'd say, 30 metres circle, all the trees died. That's fact.
You reckon there's divine intervention there?
Yeah, well, they reckon the priests cursed the bloody trees, No, but they did die. Yeah. They did die. I can still acknowledge they died from the top down, like that. Yeah. And for a long time, nothing grew there. There was just this. I'm only estimating it'd be 30 metres circle. All types of trees. Yeah. Big ones, saplings and things. Yeah. They all died.
Did the grass die?
Well, whatever grass was there, yeah. I can't remember the actual grass. There was only scrubby, blady grass and stuff. And I remember these trees dying, and it was talked about for a long time afterwards. Wish my father was here. He was good. He knew all these things, and But I saw that myself. Very.
You mentioned Nephi as well.
Yeah, well, he used to swim, pardon me, from the wharf to the channel post. There used to be a channel post right opposite, and he used to swim out there every day at 1 o'clock.
Well, he used to just walk down every day and dive off the wharf and swim out to the channel pole, and then back again, get out of the water and go home.
Yeah, well.
But as I said, we were all frightened and all used to rush into the house, even if we were playing cricket on the waterfront or anything, just in case a shark took him. That was mainly why.
Empire Bay also had its tragedies. One afternoon in 2013, the driver of a bus collapsed at the wheel whilst coming down Greenfield Road. The out-of-control bus sideswiped some parked cars and careered across Rickard Road, where it crashed into a housing unit, injuring an occupant who later died in hospital. The bus driver died at the scene and passengers suffered minor injuries. Greenfield and Rickard Roads were blocked for many hours whilst recovery operations took place. We will now look at Empire Bay today. This is 2013. There's Myla's oyster preparation shed and the new house occupied by his granddaughter on the same property at the end of Sorrento Road. You'll find that a lot of the fibro and timber cottages that once existed all along the waterfront have now been replaced by different types of structures. With the new houses comes jetties, boat ramps, and other additions to the area. Down near the main wharf, of course, there is the boat shed, which now has different types of launches around it. In the water where this tree stands, there was once the swimming baths, and on shore, of course, that's now a children's playground. Empire Bay has a child minding centre, a tavern, a service centre, and of course the public school, which now caters for 400 students. The main shopping centre is on the corner of Kendall Road and Sorrento Road, caters for a number of small businesses. And this is an aerial picture of Empire Bay. You note the lagoon in the background. And down on Sorrento Road, this is the western end. You can see there are a number of the blocks have a number of houses on them. So what was once one house per block is now multiple. We see Rickard Road in the background there, with Boongala slightly to the forward. So ends the story of Empire Bay.